Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the NBA Ask Aaron Anything podcast. I'm Aaron Herzog, your host, the guy who answers your questions. I've got the A's for your Q's, baby, so keep them coming. I apologize for that immediately, but I do, and I'm going to keep doing this podcast as long as people keep saying nice things to me about it, so thank you to the few people who have said nice things. If you say nice things about this podcast officially via reviews on Apple Podcasts, I will give you real good shout outs on the show to the rest of the people who are listening to it, because that'll help more people listen and it will validate your opinions. If you think the show is good and you give it a good review and it leads to more people listening to it, then your taste is validated, because more people listening to something means it's better, right? The most watched and listened to things are obviously better than things that are not listened to or watched as much. That's only obvious. The most popular things are also the best things, and you cannot change my mind about that. I am steadfast. I am not going to change my mind. So, if you like the show, give it a good review. Tell your friends to listen to it. And then the more people, the more better you can feel about yourself. That's right, I said more better. And if more people say more better, then it's the right thing to say. And we've changed language and changed history together. That's what this is all about. This podcast is about changing history together, or it's about me answering your questions about NBA basketball. So why don't I get into it? But seriously, give me a good review on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. I don't know. Can you do that on YouTube? Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. That's where you can find this. And then I'll say a nice thing about you. That's my promise. You say a nice thing about me, I'll say a nice thing about you. Something I truly believe. I will not just make something up. And now I have locked myself into that. But for now, let's get to your questions. Mark James has a good one. He asked LeBron James, of course, claims he went to the Lakers purely for basketball reasons. Is he 100% full of shit or 200% full of shit? Mark, here's the thing. I don't think he's full of shit at all. I think that, because when you, obviously, there were better teams for him to join this past offseason that would have had a better chance of being a good basketball team immediately. Take, for one, my favorite team, the Philadelphia 76ers, that I will mention on every single podcast that they're my favorite team. If he joins them, they're probably better right away than the Lakers. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean that his basketball reasons are invalid, that he's lying, that he just wants to make Space Jam 2, and that he just wants to do the barbershop and produce 1,000 TV shows. Shout out to LeBron James, who's just hitting the production side of things hard now that he is in Los Angeles. I mean, he could have done that pretty much from anywhere, but now that he as soon as he landed in LA, it's just like, LeBron James announces 50 shows that he's producing. Get your money, dude. I hope all your shows make the air, and they all, I don't know how TV runs anymore, but they all get that like Seinfeld syndication money, and then eventually there's a LeBron James version of Curb Your Enthusiasm where he's Larry David just running around Los Angeles, but like the cool version of it, where like, didn't Kanye try to do that? But LeBron would be way better. LeBron would be way better at it, and I hope that's what happens. I hope he's like Chuck fucking Lorre, but with shows that I'll want to watch. I hope he is the number one TV producer of the next 30 years. That's what I hope for LeBron James. Does that mean that he came to Los Angeles for reasons other than basketball? I mean, yes, those reasons exist. Not only his, I'm sure his family is happy living here. He's got two sons who are approaching, big time, who are both big time college recruits already, even though they are 13 and 10 years old. And I'm sure his family liked living here as well. They've had a home here for a while, and I'm sure being in the Los Angeles high school system is going to help out his kids. So family reasons, they probably exist. Business reasons, they exist. But he can do this from anywhere. He's LeBron James. Basketball, here's the thing with the Lakers, basketball reasons, they have a nice young nucleus already. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and then they were able to sign a few players to these one-year deals to come in and surround them, these weird players, the meme team. But then they also have cap room going forward. They've got flexibility to make a trade if a superstar becomes available. Who's not going to want to play in Los Angeles with LeBron James? That's basketball reasons. Coming to Los Angeles to play with LeBron James and the young nucleus, or making a trade for somebody who's going to want to stay here. Those are all basketball reasons. Were they the number one choice immediately, day one that he signed? No. But also a basketball reason is bringing the Lakers back to greatness, winning a title in Los Angeles. It's one of the marquee franchises of the league. If me personally, Aaron Herzog, was an NBA basketball player, one, hooray. That's the first thing to say. If I was drafted into the NBA, hooray. That's what I would say. I would stand up from the green room of the Barclays Center and I would go, huzzah! And I'd pump my fist in the air and I would say, I am in the NBA. Whether that was now for some reason, they were just like, hey, why don't you come and play? Or when I was an 18-year-old boy or 19, 20, however old I would have been, I would have pumped my fist in the air and yelled, huzzah. And that's probably why I'm not in. That's the number one reason why I'm not in the NBA. Because they don't allow dorks. No dorks allowed. The NBA is also the NDA. The no dorks allowed. But, personally, I would want to play in, I don't want to make tiers of cities, okay? So I'm not going to say a second tier city, but I wouldn't want to play in one of the bigger markets like New York or Los Angeles. Why? Your dollar doesn't go as far. If you're getting a max contract in LA, that's not as lucrative as a max contract in Milwaukee. I would love to think about that. Think about how much better you're living in Milwaukee than in Los Angeles with the same amount of dollars, minimum contract or maximum contract. Weren't there Brooklyn Nets players who had to have roommates or live together because they were on the league minimum and they couldn't afford to live in Brooklyn comfortably? Demand a trade to Oklahoma City. You're on a better team and your dollar goes further. That's how I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about producing all these TV shows or, the big business side of things. I'm thinking about making the dollar last as long as I can. But people say Anthony Davis is going to want to leave New Orleans. Why wouldn't you want to make the same amount of money, live in New Orleans, which is a ridiculously great place to live, and be the man on that franchise? I wouldn't want to go to New York or LA. I've lived in New York. I live in LA. If you're an NBA player, make the tour. Live in those other cities. I would want to live, Chicago's a big city. But I'd rather be in Chicago. That's still a top market. I'd rather be in Philadelphia. I'd rather be in New Orleans. Portland. These are all places I'd rather be as an NBA player. You're appreciated more. You're loved more. Your dollar goes further. That's what I'm saying. What was the original question? Oh yeah, LeBron James is not full of shit. These basketball reasons exist. The Lakers are very close to being a team that can contend for a title. Yo, what if Kevin Durant comes to LA to play alongside LeBron James. That would be ridiculous. I mean, everybody's saying the move is to New York, but that'd be so funny. He comes to play in Los Angeles as a Laker with LeBron James. I want Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant. That's his name. To do that. I want him to just keep going to different teams where like people are going to be like, "Bruh, what? He's making me not like him anymore. He's making me. Why is he allowed to do what he wants?" Those are my favorite type of sports fans. But that's the type of move the Lakers are very close to making, signing a player like that. That's basketball reasons right there, Mark. Did he do it for 100% basketball reasons? No. Nah. But those basketball reasons exist. So is he full of shit? No, not 100%, not 200%. Maybe like 1%. 1%. Thanks for your question, Mark. Moving on to the next question. I keep getting asked questions about Markelle Fultz, and I'm going to keep answering them, at least for now. At least for until I get tired of it. Because, you keep asking them, so I'll keep answering them. Dave Walk wants to know how long they can keep starting Markelle Fultz, and I say they've made their bed, and now they have to sleep in it. They have said that they're going to start Markelle Fultz, and it's part of an attempt to build back his confidence. And now that they've said that, they cannot go back. He is totally miscast in the role that they have him playing right now, based on what he can do on the floor right now. He is right now, today, in his skills are best equipped to be to attack the rim, to play great defense, and to be a distributor. And that just doesn't work being on the floor at the same time as Embiid and Simmons. For the long-term health of the Sixers, that has to work if they're going to keep him. So that's why they're forcing it. That's why they're starting him. That's why they have to keep doing this. But that makes me think that their vision for the team is more long-term than short-term right now. They're like 60-40 on the long-term side of things. That makes me think that, while they're going to be a very good team this year, their eye is on next year and beyond. And they really want to see if that's going to work and let him develop, or maybe it's like a testing thing. Maybe they are giving him a chance, and then if it doesn't work, maybe they're ready to cut bait, because he is in such a bad situation. It's such, for a number one overall pick, to go into a team like this where he has so much pressure to fit in right away with two players who are superstars and playing at that level, and a supporting cast that is ready to compete. And for him to be anointed this third piece that's going to put them over the edge is ridiculously high amount of expectation to put on a number one overall pick who usually comes into a bad team and is expected to not be great and have these growing pains, and he's expected to be amazing right away and fit in with these guys, and it sucks. It sucks for him, but that's the reality of the situation. And if he was on the Hawks, he would have room to grow, and he would be able to, play his best game, and he'd be playing a role that fits him better. But he's not. And I've got to talk about this. It's very weird, the support that he gets. How Philly has backed him unconditionally. The standing ovations he gets whenever he hits a jump shot, the rousing applause that he gets whenever he enters the game. It's because Philly is not like this with anybody else. It's so strange how they're treating him with kid gloves. It's like, which makes me like him even more, and strangely like the situation, because for some reason Philly, this town that has this reputation for booing players even when they're not bad, like they booed Donovan McNabb, who was the greatest quarterback in franchise history, because occasionally he would be a little bit inaccurate and throw the ball into the ground instead of the receiver's area where he could catch it. They just have this player who is not putting it together, and they love him. They're treating him like a little baby bird that they need to nurse back to health, and they are. When does that change, though? And does that break his heart? Does it break all of our hearts? I think so. I don't know. How long does Philadelphia do this? It's one of the most interesting turns of this whole thing. The whole Markelle Fultz thing is crazy. His case of the yips, his quote-unquote shoulder injury, the stuff with his trainer and who his trainer may or may not have been dating, who his mother may not have been dating, the Chick-fil-A, the love of Chick-fil-A. Like, everything about the Markelle Fultz situation is strange. The number one strange thing is how nice sports fans in Philadelphia are being to Markelle Fultz. So if you have anything bad to say about, you can no longer say that Philadelphia threw snowballs at Santa Claus. The Markelle Fultz thing erases that. Markelle Fultz is taking away all, we threw snowballs at Santa Claus. Great. We heard that story. A guy puked on a little girl at a Phillies game. Terrible. That's awful. Gritty, taking the world by storm. Love it. That's not awful at all. And if you say it is, stop listening to this podcast. But the way that the Sixers fans are treating Markelle Fultz is the strangest thing about this whole situation. And maybe the world is becoming a better place. If the sports fans in Philadelphia can treat a person with kindness, then there's hope for all of us. With true kindness. These fans are treating him with love and care. And there's a tear in my eye right now for my hometown of Philadelphia and for the hope that it represents for us all. And that's the show for today. I'll be back after the weekend. Everybody have a great weekend, Really do. Have a wonderful weekend. I want you to treat yourself and those around you with the kindness that Philadelphia sports fans have been treating Markelle Fultz. And remember that. If they can treat a struggling player with love, then you can treat anyone with love. Keep your questions coming. Send them on Twitter at Aaron Herzog, #AskAaronNBA, and I'll answer them. And if you can make me cry, like Dave Walk's question made me cry, we've all had a moment together then. Thanks for listening. Do all the things that you should do for podcasts that you like. Okay, goodbye.